They'd almost certainly been laughing at her. She started the engine and turned the heating up to full blast. Silence seemed to ring in her ears. If only she'd the gumption to shut the garage door and leave the car window open, it would be a peaceful end to her nightmare of a life. After all, who would even know where she was? She could remain here, with the car as her coffin, for years. Unless, of course, the smell seeped under the garage door and caused concern for any passer-by. But the truth was, she didn't have the guts to take her own life at this time. She bit her lip, angry that she was being so cowardly. That anger sparked a feeling that she couldn't control, a sense of revenge. If the police wanted to turn a blind eye to the situation and leave firms like Cyril Reardon and Kelly Ravens to run around earning shed loads of money through everything illegal, she would take matters into her own hands. After all, what did she have to lose now? Her liberty would be stripped from her as soon as she was caught. She knew she would never last 10 days in prison, let alone 10 years. The inmates would ruin her. She'd probably nicked half of them. She'd never shown them any mercy, and she suspected neither would they. She looked at half-smoked fag butt and snatched it, lighting the end and puffing like an old wino. Then she grappled under the seat to feel for any more bottles of spirits, but found nothing. The petrol gauge was half empty, and so she had to draw money out and to fill up the car if she was to get to London. This was what it was like to be on the run, scared and planning out every move. The sleepless nights had left her exhausted, and without a drink or a tablet, she was climbing the walls. But that anger was sending her mad, and until she satisfied it, she would not rest. All she needed was to prove Cyril Reardon, Kelly Raven and their firm were as bad as she knew they were, and perhaps all would be forgiven. It was her only option, because without it she was looking at a long stretch. They could even try and pin aiding and abetting the murder of Roy's ex-wife Rose if they wanted to. She hadn't been the instigator in that, though. It had just been a lucky find. She'd hidden out in the back garden of the pub when all the punters had left, which she'd often done, especially if she got wind of any of the firms having a late one in the Mitcham Mint. Hiding in a small gap behind the trees between the wall and the pub garden allowed her to eavesdrop on everything. She assumed that one day she would hear something that would give her a good lead. But that night she heard something more disturbing. Roy was dragging a body and talking to someone, yet it wasn't a living person. It was his dead wife, God forbid. Although it was dark and cold, the light from the kitchen shone just enough for her to see him. She watched for an hour while he dug up the patio and shoveled a mountain of earth before he finally threw her in. She recalled feeling scared to death at first, because it was like a scene from a murder film. But then she'd got her thoughts together and decided to tap him on the shoulder. It was as if he was in a trance, until the realisation hit him that she was the superintendent, and he was in shit up to his neck. She had him then, and would use him for all she could, and the plan had worked until the stupid bastard decided to grass on her. She hoped he hadn't divulged everything she had coerced him into doing, especially the issue concerning Adam Carter's death. All those years she spent climbing her way to the top and tirelessly bringing people down. But had it been worth it? Well, in one sense it had been an adrenaline boost just watching them squirm when she'd snapped the handcuffs on. If she was true to herself, she loved the fear in their eyes, knowing they would be locked up in a dirty, stinking prison. It was like the notches on a bedpost, except hers weren't for a night of passion, but for the number of arrests. The more she was verbally abused by her targets, the mobs, the firms, and the new modern gangs, the more she revelled in their arrests. It was like an addiction, but when she looked back, perhaps it was a form of revenge for all the times she'd been spat at or verbally insulted. The worst villains were the likes of Cyril Reardon, Eddie Raven, and now Malachi River. They didn't show fear. In fact, they were mocking her without even speaking. She hated them, all of them, and it was her life's ambition to take them down, one by one, and by any means.